Yeah. And it was like I was watching my body change, and it was insanity to me.
Love it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sup Talk Radio. My guest tonight, where do I even begin? When she's not on stage winning pro cards, she's either on the piano playing Beethoven. She's having a great time with her dog, Bacon. Yes, you've heard that right. Her dog's name is Bacon. She's also teaching people pole dancing. And if not doing that, she's on the Australian version of American Gladiators, kicking butt. Yes, I did my research. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Amelia Hannan. Amelia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
I,
so
I,
excited.
I know we've spent a lot of times on Instagram and DMing, but I could just feel the energy and the positivity, as weird as that sounds, and I love it.
That's good. I mean, that's the aim of the game. I want to make people's lives and change people's lives along the way through bodybuilding. It'll be fun.
Amelia, I know we're less than a month out. Take us back to the South Wales Championships, or I guess whatever the contest was, the day of the show. What's going through your mind? How are you feeling? How are you looking?
So the state championships was sort of a test run for me for nationals.
Okay.
We were planning to peak for nationals, and we'd sort of ramped everything up to sort of happen on the nationals day. But yeah, nationals was honestly, it was a great day.
Okay.
There was minimal nerves. I felt good. I felt obviously you on stage you're completely depleted. You're dehydrated, you're trying to pump up, and there is all of those sort of elements happening, but you've just sort of accept those as it is what it is.
Sure.
And you've just got to present your best, I suppose. But yeah, it was actually a really, really good day. It was a really positive day as well,
Okay.
especially with the other female competitors.
Yeah. Now, how many? Now, with Australian shows, because I'm here in the U.S. and I hear crazy numbers. What are the numbers for you? Like, how many people were in your class or your division for that show?
So this show was actually the deepest the division has had in years. So
Okay.
we had 13 people in figure, which is unheard of in nationals for Australia. So usually there's about 5 to 6 people on stage for nationals,
Okay.
um, and the quality as well on stage was insane,
Okay.
like absolutely insane. It made me quite proud because the fact that I stood with, 13 other girls
Mm-hmm.
who brought equally just as good as figures and structures as I did. And one, it was sort of like, oh my God, really? Are you sure? Like, are you sure?
Yep.
It was a bit of a pinch me moment for sure.
So what is your routine like in the morning of the day of the show? Do you stay covered up? Do you have headphones? Do you stay away from everybody? Or do you interact and mingle with people?
So I'm quite naturally a people person. I isolate quite well, and I
Okay.
needed to be throughout the prep. But on the day, I did sort of stay in my lane a little bit. I think towards the end, I just kept head down, sort of
Okay.
blinkers on. But on the day, it was quite wake up, go for eat my first meal,
Okay.
coffee, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Go for the top up tan. Went back to the hotel, did my own makeup and hair because I was trying to save as much money as possible throughout the process.
Okay.
And then headed back in with all my gear, laid down, chilled out. We were up first, so it was quite quick. I didn't have to wait around for too long.
Oh, good.
Um, yeah, so it was basically lay down for a little bit. Coach was just checking physique. Then we just started pumping up, and then it was go time.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
what what
it was quite a quick day.
what is your meal the day of the show? Your first meal?
So first meal was chicken and rice.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, so it was. My coach is quite. It's not. We don't do the rice cakes thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was two very small meals of chicken and rice, and then there was the pump up. So pump up was potato chips. I had a couple of Tim Tams, some M&Ms, um, maple syrup, salt,
Wow.
citrulline, Powerade with dextrose. Like it was a proper pump up. Like it was insane because as I was taking all these things in, I started feeling like just crazy.
Probably tight, right?
Yeah, it was insane. It was just like all of a sudden I felt like you could almost feel the carbs going into your veins. It was really strange.
Now, were you carb depleted though? Did you carb deplete the week of the show?
Yeah, so
Okay.
my feedback was from nationals, which was 7 days prior. Sorry, states from which was 7 days from nationals. Was that I needed to bring it in, like I
Okay.
needed to lean down a little bit more. Um, so I had been depleting honestly for 8 weeks though, with refeeds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that was a lot. I was living a peak week every week for 8 weeks. Just this time, it was minus the refeeds.
Okay.
So it was complete deplete. We decided to only do a minimal carb up in comparison to the last one. So the carb up for nationals was actually still in deficit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we kept everything quite tight. The previous week was 3,200 calories roughly, and with about 480 grams of carbs.
Okay.
So it was a very different carb up to the previous week.
Interesting. And obviously it worked.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think my body tends to spill over too much with carbs,
Okay.
whereas I think we hit the right spot where we went.
So now when you're on stage, did you in your mind think you had this? Or like, what are you thinking when you're standing with all these other ladies?
I was going into this, especially after what happened in states. I was not. I knew we were much better than we were the previous week,
Okay.
but I was just aiming for top three.
Okay.
Um, then what I found was I went on stage and I could hear Tony Doherty in the corner, and I hit a lat spread, and I just heard this wow. I was
From
like,
Tony?
and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I was like, shit,
Love
oh my
it.
god. And then what I found was that I was the one that was shifted, so I didn't know where I was going.
Okay.
So I found that I started off on the far, well, if you're looking at the stage, far right, and then
Mm-hmm.
I got shifted up between everybody and then back to center.
Okay.
So that really I didn't know what to do with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah. How would you think? They're either kind of putting you out or they're starting to compare you to people.
yeah, I think they were comparing me to the other girls there. So I was one that was being moved
Mm-hmm.
consistently. So I actually didn't know where I was.
Okay.
And then I got shifted to the far left because I think the one of the girls that was in comparison probably closest to my physique, they were comparing her to the second and third,
Okay.
and then I got shifted back. So I finished in first place, but you never know. You
Yeah,
never
I
know if
know.
you are truly first. So it's yeah, it was sort of like when my name got read out, or no, sorry, well when Jess, the girl who came second, her name got read out, I was just like,
Your emotions were priceless. I'm gonna add the video somewhere in here, but your emotions were priceless. I mean, it was so genuine. I loved it.
well, I think when I looked at the other girls, they were fantastic
Yes.
in their own right. And I think a lot of the other girls were also a little bit more conditioned than I was.
Okay.
So it was almost like, well, I don't have the tightness of the skin that sometimes these other girls do have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my structure is what saved me.
Maybe you were fuller. Maybe they're looking for more fuller that day.
Yeah, so I think the direction, well, what I was told was that I fit a US category more than I
Got
fit
it.
Australia.
Okay. Okay.
So, and if they're looking at that comparison, they're looking at who fits Sid Gillen. the
Yes.
best.
Okay. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So they're
Yes.
comparing it. So I think structurally and the fullness, I definitely had.
Okay.
Conditioning was just enough. I mean, I complain about my conditioning. I had striations on my glutes. So
I think that's so funny now that regardless if you're male or female, you have to have striated glutes, regardless of what you are.
oh, I've never had it before in my life, and it came in the day before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was like I was watching my body change, and it was insanity to me.
Love it. So were you
Yeah, it
were you
was.
not striated the stage show, the show prior?
No, so I was definitely there was if even if I have a look, there's the two of them on my page. When I have a look at the photos, side by side, there I just look a lot harder,
Okay.
and I look a lot leaner in the national show than in comparison to the state show.
Okay. Okay.
So not complaining. Got
Yeah,
my
no. Wow. So I always like to ask after you step on stage, you're loving the life, you're getting all the congratulations and whatnot. What's the first meal you have after the show?
well, we went back to the hotel, and honestly, I just wanted to shower. I it was
Understandable.
like it
Okay.
was like it was 2 days without a shower. Well, one and a half. Well, yeah, no, it was actually closer to 2 days without a shower.
Yep.
And I was like, I need to wash this off me. So I had a shower. My brother reminded me of the cookie in the
Okay.
fridge, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the one. Bring it on. And then we went. Actually, funnily enough, we just went around the corner because my dad had flown down from Sydney for the
Oh, nice.
show. So we just went around the corner and grabbed something to eat quickly so we could eat all together before he flew back.
Okay.
And that was gyros. I had a a Greek gyros.
A lamb one?
No, I had chicken. So it was
Okay.
chicken, chips. My brother ordered some pork, had some of that. But the main focus was that night when we went out for dinner. We went and had a pasta because I've been craving pasta the whole prep, and obviously
Sure.
not being able to eat it. Oh, I was living my dream.
So the next morning you wake up, did you look better than the day before? Because most people look better the day after when you really refeed the sodium, the carbs, everything.
Yeah, I think I definitely looked a lot fuller and a lot more vascular.
Yep.
But I did bring back the food that day, so
Okay.
that wore off quite quickly. So I sort of brought it back down to just eating as I felt like I
Sure.
was eating and hungry for. But just watching the carbs because I was quite nervous about falling into the habit of, I suppose, sometimes when you go for the blowout, you tend to form that habit of, oh yeah, this is fine. Oh yeah, this is
Mhm.
fine.
Yep.
So I wanted to sort of bring it back down to, no, let's keep it in.
Got it. Amelia, can I be personal and ask what your height and your weight were the day of the show?
So I'm 163 centimeters, and
Okay.
my weight on that morning was 61.8.
Okay, so maybe 135-ish, give or take, maybe? I'm just doing it in American
Yeah, yeah,
pounds.
yeah, yeah. Roughly, yes, yeah. So
Okay.
I can
Okay.
be. I'm quite heavy on stage. I think a few of I think I was one of the heavier ones on stage.
Okay.
Not complaining.
Yeah, you
Um,
look phenomenal though. I
yeah,
mean,
so,
regardless.
but yeah, so I think yeah, definitely I was, and it was funny because my first ever prep, which was through a natural federation, um, which was year previous,
Okay.
I was 55 kilos on stage
Oh, wow. Okay.
and nowhere near as lean.
Yeah. Okay.
So it
Interesting.
was a big, big difference.
So, Amelia, take us back to the younger version of you. What brought you into the gym? What made you start lifting weights?
So I'd played water polo my whole life and swum my whole life.
Okay.
So the shoulders are
And the
definitely
back, of
some of the
course, the lats and the
shoulders.
shoulders.
Yep. But I had to leave water polo due to injury.
Okay.
And with that, obviously when you're an athlete, you can eat basically whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of exercise I was doing throughout the week, I'd be always quite svelte.
Okay.
But when I injured myself and couldn't train, I gained about 50 kilos within the space of 2.5 years. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, and you don't realize it. I just didn't see it.
Was it depression though? Was it a little bit of depression maybe?
Yeah, it was. I was happy in my relationship. I'd stopped exercising.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just. I think it was a combination of things, and gained so much weight, and I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I remember I was and this poor lady, bless her soul. Um, I was in a fitting room, and the lady was like, "I don't have anything available in a bigger size."
Wow. Okay.
And I was like, and this wasn't somewhere where they had plus size. They just
Yeah.
didn't have plus size.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And at that point, I remember sitting in the changing room, and I was so disgusted with myself. And then I started losing a little bit of weight then. And I sort of reached a point where I was like, oh, well, this is where my body's happy at.
Mm-hmm.
Then COVID happened.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I was walking everywhere,
Oh, okay.
and,
Okay.
and the weight started dripping off. So I was
And
like,
the
okay, well, let me have a look at my food.
and the gyms were open in Australia because Australia was on a lockdown, right? I would think they're open
No,
or no? No.
we had no gyms open. So
Okay.
I was literally just walking everywhere and then doing home workouts. And then I looked at my food and tried to adjust my food.
Okay.
And I did take it to a degree where I became too skinny
Mhm.
and way too small for my size.
Okay.
And I knew what the problem was, and I knew I was having disordered eating. And rather than speaking to someone,
Mhm.
I was like, I'm going to find a coach. So it was right around the time where everything sort of opened back up, and I found my coach through word of mouth, through other people who have used him previously,
Okay.
and reached out to him. And rest is history. I just became okay with being uncomfortable eating the
Mhm.
food,
Okay.
and gave me a purpose to eat the food. So it was at that point that everything sort of changed.
But I'm sure at that point you weren't thinking of competing. You were probably just looking to better your shape and better your life.
Well, no, I did want to compete.
Okay.
IFBB was always the goal for me at the end of it. It just wasn't. I just didn't realize it would happen so quickly
Okay. Okay.
because I've only been with my coach for 18 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I just didn't think that. Um, well, it's actually oh no, it's actually our 2 year anniversary today.
Oh,
Yeah, no, two. So just on 2 years with my coach
he's
now.
local to Australia, local to you, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's about 30 minutes away, drive away from me. So we
okay.
sort of see each other. He's also competing this weekend, so I'll see him this weekend.
So was it a
But yeah,
was it a hard transition? Was it just you put your head down and just listen and do, or like was it hard to?
I yeah, it was initially because I sort of whilst my diet I thought was okay, I didn't realize how little I was eating. So
Mm-hmm.
the transition for me was really hard because I remember crying my first meal, the first ever meal
Okay.
I had on plan. I was sitting at this table just crying because it was just so much food,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wasn't used to it. And the walking and the training wasn't a hard transition because I already had those things in place. So the
Sure.
food for me was something that was the hardest transition, was getting used to eating the right amount of food.
Mm-hmm.
But I was already pretty much living that lifestyle previously. I don't drink. I don't go out and party.
Yep.
Um, I enjoy having a structure within my life. It
Okay.
calms me as a person. So I think the food was probably the hardest thing, but it was just head down. You just gotta. I knew I
Yeah.
had to just force it through and just hope for the best.
I know that's the hardest issue with all competitors, bodybuilders, is you're afraid you're going to eat too much, but yet people need to understand that eating more is not negative, and obviously you're living proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, we went from I looked painfully skinny.
Okay.
Um, it was like I look back at photos now, and I'm sort of like, I don't realize how sick I looked as
Mm-hmm.
well at that time until you sort of look back. Um, But yeah, there is always that concern when you're eating more food that you're going to gain weight. And my coach tends to have this saying, he's like, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
Especially if you want to build muscle. If you want to gain the size, you kind of have to get to a point where you are in a surplus. It's the only way. I mean, yes, you can build muscle in a recomp or at maintenance calories, but
Hmm.
relatively, if you really want to put on that size, you kind of have to eat the food to match that.
Yes, yes. So you hire your coach, you start eating better, your body's starting to fill out and look better. At what point do you say, I'm going to do another show or do a show?
It was literally straight afterwards. So
Okay.
I competed on, I think it was the Saturday, and I sent Rawdon a message on Sunday, and I was like, "Let's get back into it Monday."
Wow.
And I think
Okay.
he was quite shocked, but I think he was. I don't think he was expecting it. Um, but I was like, "Nah, we need to get back into it." Like I came third at nationals through that federation, and I wasn't happy.
Hmm. Okay.
I wanted to be better. I'm quite competitive in nature.
Well, obviously, it's your water polo, as you mentioned, I would assume.
Yeah, so and it was I'm very very set in my ways. Like once I have an idea of what I want, I need to get it, and I
Yep.
need to, and it's not in the sense of is a spoiled aspect in I need to have it. It's like I will do the necessary things to give myself the best possible chance at achieving that.
Love it. Love it.
So yeah, it was from that Monday I started training again. And it's the same with this way. Like I sent him the same message. I was like, "Yep, let's go. Let's buckle down." And he's actually forced a break on me. He ignored me for a week. He ignored me to make sure I was resting.
Yeah, that's important too. That people forget that too. You need a little bit of rest, put a little bit of fat back on the body, kind of let. I know, obviously, yes.
I was like, I went. I was in the gym on Monday, um, and I competed on Sunday. I was back in the gym on Monday. I just did half hour. I took a break from cardio.
Oh, okay.
And then I added
Okay, good.
and then I've only added cardio back in this week at a much lower level, of course, but
How long your preps generally?
I think this one was close to 28 weeks.
Wow. Okay, so you're looking at
Mhm.
7. Oh, yes, 7 months. Wow.
Yeah, it was my body doesn't like to do what it's told, so it kind of has to be forced
Okay.
in a lot of ways, and it quite drastically forced. So on the Saturday before I was competing, so it was the day before, I was the only competitor smashing it out in the gym and also on the cardio machine. So
Wow.
there was don't get me wrong, there was other girls getting their party pumps on, moving the carbs around, but I was the only girl on the stepper.
So you weren't afraid of either inflammation or getting your quads too pumped or anything?
Not really, because I think we were sort of I wasn't doing the same amount that we were doing that like 2 days prior. So I was
Okay.
just hitting maybe 30 or 60 minutes, but I wasn't doing it at a pace where I was feeling a pump.
Okay.
And also we took antihistamines. We were very much like bringing all the fluid out as well.
Yep.
So I wasn't too worried about that. I think when your body sort of gets used to it, the inflammation sort of doesn't really affect you once your body
Yeah.
starts to get used to that exercise.
But something that you just brought up, we talked about earlier, trying to get rid of all the water and the fluids, but yet I think you said you were drinking Gatorade the morning of, no?
Yeah, we had Powerade with dextrose right before the pump up. It was just carbs,
Okay.
sugar,
Yeah.
a little bit of fluids to make sure we weren't too flat.
Interesting.
It's funny because I did go flat on stage. So we were on stage posing for 10 minutes. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it was we I was shaking. I was done.
Yeah.
Like I was literally just properly shaking. And because when you practice your posing, the maximum you're practicing is maybe you're holding that pose for 1 or 2 minutes,
I know. Yes. Yes.
not a full 10 minutes.
Yeah, that
And
is a lot.
yeah, so when we got directed back to side of stage, my coach had obviously run water up to backstage,
Yep.
and I took a few chugs of that, and then I was a-okay after.
Oh,
It's
good.
sort of
Okay.
pumped up again.
Amelia, what does training look like during prep? Like your weights and cardio, like what does that look like?
It's very much the same as out of prep. So
Okay.
every morning, non-negotiable is I go for a walk. I feel like it starts my day off right, and if I don't do it, I feel like I have quite a lazy day in comparison for the rest of my day.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's usually head to the gym. Gym's probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
If I cruise through it, I don't want to kill myself, but I want to get the work done and as best as I can. But it's much the same.
Okay.
Cardio is less, obviously. Cardio got up to 90 minutes a day in prep.
How many sessions? One session, two sessions?
Oh no, every day.
No, but I mean 90 minutes at once or two
Oh,
45s or
yeah. I would do 60 minutes in the morning,
okay.
and then I'd come back after I was teaching pole, and I'd do a further 30 minutes then.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it was a bit rough. But I do stepper still, 20 minutes per
Yep.
day outside of prep. And the trainings very much we do shoulders, chest, quads. So we do upper lower split every day.
Okay.
So shoulders, chest, quads Monday, back, rear delts, hammies Tuesday, glutes, calves, bis, tris Wednesday, and then it repeats at a high volume for the rest of the week, and then rest day Sunday.
So you're training 6 days in a row.
Prep I was doing 7.
Wow,
Out of
okay.
prep it's 5 or 6 days. Yeah.
Wow. Because last year I was getting ready for a show myself last year and I was training 7 days. I was not losing any weight. And my coach was like, listen, you need to cut it down because your body's probably too inflamed. You're not losing any weight
Yeah.
because all the inflammation. But obviously everybody's body's different.
Yeah. So I found we definitely we brought it back down the last sort of 2 weeks
Okay.
where it was we were doing very light reps.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to push the barrier on how much weight we were lifting. We were just lifting what was comfortable to lift
Okay.
without getting too overly fatigued.
Yep.
But yeah, the reps did change towards the end. So the reps were reps of 10, 12 per
Okay.
set throughout the whole week. Whereas when we're outside of that, before that, it
Okay.
was 20 to 30 reps on those higher volume days.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was rough.
You mentioned earlier that did you go for a long walk in the morning? Is that with bacon or do you do that by yourself?
I usually go with bacon. Depending on her mood, she tends to be because she's a German Shepherd, right? So
Yep.
she just goes. So sometimes when I need to think, it's by myself.
People are
But I
listening.
get
People are listening to this and probably asking themselves, where did you come up with the name Bacon for a dog?
well, I had so I had two other Rottweilers. So
Okay.
I had three big dogs at one stage,
Wow.
and yeah, so I had Buster and Boss,
Okay.
and obviously the B names, and I was just thinking like I love bacon. Like bacon is awesome. Like how good's bacon? And then I was like, I could name her Bacon. She looks like a bacon. She could sit bacon.
Love it.
So yeah, it's kind of suck. It's funny because a few people at my vet have stolen the name for their own
Really?
puppies. Mhm. Mhm. No.
Sounds like a lawsuit to me.
No, it's quite funny because you see the puppies come through and you see it like the lady was named. She goes, "Oh yeah, my dog's name is Bacon." I was like, mhm, mhm.
Like I'm the originator right here.
I created that.
Oh my gosh. Amelia, one of the big things as a female competitor are bikinis. Talk to us about like what goes into your mindset when picking colors, rhinestones, all that kind of stuff.
So I think for me, I wanted to play on um, the muscly Barbie, if I'm
That's right.
honest.
The Anabolic Barbie is your handle.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
do you know what's funny is I got that nickname backstage
Okay.
at State. So one of the other coaches of the girls, Um, he goes, "You look like Anabolic Barbie," and then it just like the other girls were calling me that, and then it just sort of turned into this thing over the past 2 weeks where that was my nickname.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not mad about it. Like, there
Seriously,
are
that's pretty
worse,
cool.
there are worse nicknames to be named. So yeah, it was very much. I wanted to play on the fact that I just looked like this big built blonde Barbie.
You know what? Big but not scary though.
Yes, that's. I mean, femininity for me has been probably one of the
Yes.
top things that I always try to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Which as a female being bodybuilder it can be quite a slippery slope.
Yes. Yes.
So there's always that in the back of my head that I want to always maintain that femininity because obviously life after bodybuilding,
That's
we
it.
want to keep that femininity there.
Let's quickly talk about, I want to say, your day job. You're a pole dancing instructor.
Yeah.
How did you fall into that? And obviously being so muscular, I don't know if it's easier or harder.
So I actually found that both of them, I was always told that one would have to be chosen over the other.
Okay.
And I haven't actually found that. So for me, bodybuilding made me crazy strong for pole.
Mm-hmm.
There's tricks that I whip out that I only know men whip out through competitions. So there's an element where I'm like, yeah, I do that. Like so, it's quite nice. It's quite nice knowing that you're quite strong. But pole dancing actually kept me quite mobile for
Okay.
bodybuilding. So the mobility within, because you obviously have to be quite mobile and flexible, and
Sure.
have a lot of core for pole. It kept me flexible enough to obviously not get injured as much. I didn't really have to worry about getting massages all the time because my muscles weren't crazy tight.
Okay. I didn't think
Um,
about that. Okay.
yeah, so because of a lot of it's active flexibility, a lot of it is like I have to stretch my students before, like with my students before for 15 minutes every class.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that in itself forces you to have that mobility there. So they've actually complement each other a little bit.
But how did you fall into it?
Oh, so sorry.
That's okay.
So during COVID, I was working full time, um, professionally, I would say,
Okay. Okay.
and
No
COVID
judgment.
happened, and yeah, it was sort
We're a
of.
judgment-free podcast.
Oh no, no, no! It was I was a criminal defense lawyer.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you. All right. I'll just be blunt. I thought
No,
you were trying to say you were a
no,
stripper.
no,
I'm sorry.
no. I mean, if I was, I reckon I'd make a killing as a stripper. Um,
Okay. Never mind.
but no, it was yeah, criminal defense lawyer, and then COVID happened, and I realized how unhappy I was,
Mm-hmm.
and how much I genuinely hated what I was doing.
Yeah. Okay.
And pole dancing was something that I was doing. I was teaching here and there, covering a few classes here and there, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I could make this a full time thing. So then, over that period of time, I really tried to work on getting as good at pole as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then was I'd made friends with a studio just down the road,
Okay.
and we had our little Zoom get-togethers over COVID, and then I got offered a job to teach through there. So it's just been like that for the 2 years now, 2.5, almost 3 years.
So you walked away from legal, and now this is your full-time job earning.
Yeah, yeah, I
Good for
love it.
you.
Yeah, it's the
So
best. It was quite scary because I live alone, and all the financials do
sure.
fall on me. So at the start, I was terrified,
Yeah.
terrified. But I mean, the thing is, I'm happier than I've ever been.
Okay.
I love my life. I wake up happy and not just rolling my eyes about, oh my God, I've got to go do this
Good for
for the
you.
next 9, 10 hours. So I've been really happy with the decision I made.
You're one of the few people that it's a gamble, like you said. If you're the only person bringing in money, do you, don't you? But kudos for you for trying it, and even more success for you because you're succeeding at it.
Yeah, it was really, really scary. I won't lie, there were some weeks where, you know, that you're down to your last $20 and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah, yeah.
my god. But then things start picking up and you're like, okay, this is working, and you somehow manage to make it work. It's really strange.
Now, are your clients, are any of your clients competitors, or are they kind of like the average moms? They're trying to
So
increase the bedroom life a little bit, or
so we have it is all walks of life, and I think that's why I love doing what I do. Generally, I find a lot of women come to the studio in search of confidence,
okay.
in search of feeling good about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and I watch them change, and it's quite nice from when you, especially when you start seeing them as beginners. You see them come in and they're all really shy. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know what they're doing. They're really worried about how they look. They're all
Especially
covered up because they're quite nervous about how other people might see them.
especially if they see you, though, not to insult you, but they see you and maybe they're a mom that's, maybe 20 pounds overweight. It might be
Yeah.
intimidating, I would think.
Well, I do remind students where I started
Mm-hmm.
as well, and I do remind them. And when they say that I'm not strong enough to do this, and I was like, hey, 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 I used to be 102 kilos. If I can do it, you can
Anybody
too.
can. Yeah.
Like,
That's
if I
awesome.
I I I I completely understand where you're at. Like, I think when you explain that to them, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not it is for every fitness level. Obviously, varying fitness levels depend on how far you will get within competing in pole.
Sure.
But we get everybody from mums, nurses, teachers.
Love it.
It's everybody. Sometimes we've got mums that bring their kids into the studio, and I've told them, yeah, like I've told them, I go because it's such a positive environment. It's not as sexualized as I think a lot of people think it is,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's quite fitness based. And yeah, we've got. Well, I mean, if it's going to prevent them from coming into the studio and doing classes, then I'm happy. Bring the kids in. Why not?
Yeah. Well, it's like the newest yoga. Like you said, it's not as seductive or like judgmental as it used to be.
100%, and I think it's slowly starting to get recognised as a sport
Yep.
because it is so difficult, so
Oh, of
difficult.
course.
The things I don't think I've ever done an exercise in the gym that has been as unless it is a muscle up that
Okay.
has been as difficult as pole.
Yeah, I mean, we all watch movies and stuff, and for me, it's intriguing when they're almost upside down and they slide, but they catch themselves with their legs before they hit the floor. That's like
Yeah,
just amazing.
yeah. I mean, sometimes it does. There's a lot of fear involved. I will say, well, on my part,
Of course,
like,
somebody fall on their
like
head.
yeah, you're always in the back of your head. You're like, oh, is today the day that I fall?
Oh my goodness!
Luckily, touch wood, it hasn't happened yet.
Wow. Okay, another thing too that I found earlier. Talk to me about. I'm going to call it the Australian Gladiators.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How did?
So that was interesting. That was I sort of saw it. It came up, and I was like, why not? I'll put in for it. Just see
Yeah,
how I get it. And I kept passing the points at which the studio sort of, I think they sort of check you off. Oh, this person's moved past this point. This person's moved past this point, and they're like,
yeah.
and it got to the end where they sort of offered it to me, and I was like, I was actually a bit annoyed because I was going for the part of Gladiator.
Oh, so you were trying. So you weren't a contestant. You were trying out to be a gladiator.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do the beating. I didn't want to
Yeah.
get beaten up because the way the show is designed, it is designed where the gladiators do have an advantage
Mm-hmm.
always.
Yes, of course.
So, it's always designed that way. So it's not necessarily fair for the competitors when we can't tackle back,
Yeah, yeah.
or we've got to avoid the gladiators where they're allowed to tackle us. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So we're not allowed to actually go after them. I think the only one that we were actually able to go after them was the rings, the hanging one.
Sure. Okay.
But I didn't make it that far because I got injured.
That's what I was going to ask you. You weren't afraid of getting injured, knowing that you're a competitor, but you just if you get injured, you get injured.
Yeah, I didn't think I would get as injured as I did.
Okay.
So I popped, my top rib popped out.
Wow.
I had ACL or MC. I think my MCL is in your shoulder, in your elbow. I had ACL, knee. I had bruising to my upper and lower spine. I had whiplash. It
How many
was.
shows was this? Just one show?
This was just the one show. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I was thrown from about 8 meters and sort of like landed in funny positions on my neck. Um, and I didn't realize actually how injured I was until we were warming up for um, the
Event.
next event. Yep, correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And I couldn't actually put any weight on my shoulder.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I was like, oh. And I actually got medically pulled before I wasn't willing to give it up, but
Yeah.
I got medically pulled because of that. And I woke up the next morning and I genuinely felt like I had been hit by a truck.
I can imagine.
It was, yeah, it was quite bad. So I actually drove myself to hospital the following day and got all the scans done and explained what had happened. And then they're all freaking out. And I'm like, guys, I'm not that bad. But they ended up putting me in neck brace enough. I thought it was way over the top, but I suppose they got to take their precautions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, bruising upper lower spine, sprained shoulder, sprained elbow, sprained knee, whiplash, popped rib. That was probably the worst. The popped rib was probably
Wow.
the worst.
And I'm sure your muscularity probably helped you a little bit though. Like if it was the normal person, it'd probably be in traction for weeks.
Yeah, so I was actually in trauma, and the doctor rolled me onto the side, and he's feeling my back, and he goes honestly, he goes, I reckon you would have broken your neck if you weren't so muscular.
Yeah. Seriously.
So I
Wow.
suppose lucky.
So obviously again, I give you credit because you try everything regardless of the outcome. You are such a risk
Okay, of
taker.
course, of course. I think I felt. Without going too deep into it, I suffered quite badly with anxiety for a majority of my life.
Okay.
So I was always naturally just terrified of everything.
Okay.
And I allowed it to rule my life. Um, and it sort of reached a point where I was sitting there thinking one day, I was like, I'm gonna wind up 80 years old and I'm gonna regret everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm gonna regret not doing the things that I was interested in doing just out of fear of either failure or being hurt or I mean anything bad that you can imagine going under that.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. So
So how
now
did
I do it. But I'm still terrified, but I do it.
but are you doing anything like mentally to prepare yourself? Like what are you doing to get over it? Or are you just saying screw it, I'm doing it? Like you doing anything mentally? Anything?
I think it's almost like this belief system that I trust my body.
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn to trust my body to, and I think pole has really helped me with that as well.
Okay.
Um, because if you are falling out of a move, which has happened from time to time,
Yeah.
I've managed to catch myself before anything bad has happened.
Okay.
So I think there's an element where I've built up a level of trust with my body that I know where I can sort of push it
Mm-hmm.
and where I should probably pull it back. Um, but yeah, overall, it's more so you got to. I suppose you got to just go for it. I won't jump out of a plane though. Not happening. That's not happening. That's
Come on now, you've
that's
done everything else.
oh nah. There needs to be like three plan Bs
So
for
Amelia,
that.
was it tough though stepping on stage? Did that anxiety, a hundred couple hundred people looking at you in your bikini? No?
No, no.
Oh,
And
interesting. Okay.
again, I think I sorry to keep bringing it up, but pole has
Yeah.
been. I mean, if you we can't wear a lot of clothes doing pole
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise we don't get grip onto the brass poles.
Sure.
Um, and when you've been on stage dancing for competitions for pole, you can't. It sort of numbs you to the sensation. I think the only thing I was quite worried about was falling on stage.
Sure.
My thing was, what if I fall and I've been like I'm a pole dancer? I should be able to walk in heels. Like, how embarrassing if I fall in heels.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
okay.
so that was probably the only thing I was quite worried about.
Mhm.
Yeah. Other than that, I wasn't really too bothered. Like, I've been practicing my routine like crazy, so I just knew it, and all I
Yeah.
needed to do was smile.
So have you competed in pole dancing?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And how have you placed in that?
I've done not too bad. I haven't competed recently because I have been concentrating more so on bodybuilding,
Okay.
and comp prep for pole is quite full on as well,
Sure.
physically.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I've done a couple of competitions and won specific titles, but not like overall wins or anything like that.
Yeah.
Sort
Okay.
of, you know.
Amelia, we talked about your meals. What about supplementation? Do you protein powders, any of that kind of stuff? Do you use any supplements?
Oh yeah, for sure. So my coach has it very regimented. So obviously, wake up, multivitamins,
Okay.
D3, fish oils, all that kind of good stuff. First meals usually protein, so is some sort of protein powder with oats or
Yep.
cream of rice or anything like that. And there's always digestive enzymes in
Okay.
there with my meals. Then you have your pre-workout pumps, so
Mhm.
citrulline, um, just a normal pre-workout pump that has beta alanine or anything in that.
Yep.
And then I also have a hydration powder that I pop
Okay.
into my pre-workout. And then it's, yeah, just digestive enzymes. And then before we go to bed, there's magnesium, melatonin, yeah, just all the good stuff,
Okay.
tyrosine, yeah, all the good
Good.
stuff. Yeah.
You mentioned obviously being on the pole, you kind of stay limber, but do you do
Mm.
anything else outside massages, cryotherapy, any of that type of stuff? Cold tanks, anything?
I probably should do a lot more recovery than I do.
Okay.
That's probably something that I probably need to focus on moving forward.
Okay.
Uh, but for the moment, I just use a massage gun
Okay.
if I need it.
Yep.
If I'm feeling particularly sore, I just up the magnesium and
Mhm.
try to back off anything in particular. So if my glutes are really sore or my quads are really sore, I sort of back off on those exercises a little bit.
Yep.
Or back off on anything that might flare it up further than it needs to be. But I don't ever push my body to the point where, and I don't agree with this sentiment that you've got to push your body to breaking point to be successful.
Yes, yes.
I don't think that there's longevity in that within the sport,
Okay.
and that's it's funny because I think that also helps in maintaining just homeostasis in the body, I suppose.
Definitely, definitely. So when we look at 2025, what are we working on? What are we bettering for your body? What needs to be brought up?
So glutes and hams need to be brought up.
Okay.
Uh, Mainly glutes, really. We can probably bring up delts a tiny bit.
Okay.
Uh, Work on trying to refine my waist a little bit more and get that a little bit slimmer.
Okay.
Um, by using maybe a belt whilst training
Mhm.
or throughout the day. Um, yeah, it's a way I want to sort of build as much as possible before US,
Okay.
hopefully.
Now,
So
are there a lot of professional shows in Australia or that's what I was thinking.
yeah, there's none. There's no.
Okay.
So for us, winning a pro card, I feel in Australia is a bit of a double edged sword.
Yep.
I mean, it's fantastic, and I didn't expect that to happen my first season.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also a double edged sword because now you're with the big girls.
Yeah. Okay.
You're now with the people that you look up to,
Mhm.
and a lot of the shows are overseas, so there's a lot more finances that need
Sure.
to be sort of saved up for that to accommodate costs, hotels, all that kind of stuff.
Because I know, gosh, I'm dating myself. Probably in the 2000s, Tony used to put on like, he used to have one or two pro shows. I know it was more male back in the day, but it sounds like he's only doing the qualifiers, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think Australia has the numbers. Um, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of professionals within Australia, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of really big names within Australia. But I don't think the numbers within Australia would be competitive enough, and
Yeah.
I don't think we'd get the international visitors um, that, for example, Vancouver Pro would probably get.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like a lot of those big shows in the US get a lot more international visitors, and whereas we'd probably have a lot more Australians,
Yes.
um,
Okay.
and maybe one or two international visitors because it's expensive. It's super expensive.
So, are you eyeing any shows, or do you have anything you're thinking about next year, or?
So there's a few shows in Florida in September. There's the Vancouver Pro,
Okay.
which I do believe is a qualifier for,
For the Olympia, yes.
and then coming back to possibly Florida to do the third show. See how the body's feeling, because I think we can only do a 30-day visa within the US. So
Okay.
I'll probably go there 2 weeks to let the body chill out after all the flying and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Get into a bit of a routine there.
Mm-hmm.
Third week show, go back to Vancouver or go out to Vancouver to do the show there. Come
Mm-hmm.
back to Florida to finish off and do a show there, and come back to Australia after that.
Because this month, I know Florida, there's two of them. There's the Tampa Pro and I think the Orlando Pro, but I don't know if they're both females or not. I think one of
Yeah,
them one
so
definitely is.
the Tampa Pro is female. It has a figure section, so that's
Okay.
the one that I'll probably be doing next September.
Okay. What's the
Hopefully,
big picture? What's the end goal for this, Amelia?
Olympia. I'll be on that stage. There, like it is. It terrifies me to say that.
Why?
Um,
You're so
I
strong and like so
suppose.
determined.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, of course. But I just feel that this happened very quickly.
Okay.
I was sort of expecting to spend maybe a few more years earning that pro card, and going through the motions of earning
Yeah.
it. So it felt like that happened quite quickly. So for a week after, I felt like a fraud. Um, I felt like I didn't deserve it. Um, and it was never put on to me. That was never said to me. It's something that I sort of put on to myself.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had to reassess my goals, because the goal for the last 2 years has been IFBB stage and possibly pro card in the next few years.
Yeah.
And then that just happened. So it felt like I had to reassess my goals a little bit, and I thought, like, effort, why not? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if we can build the way that we've built in the last 12 months, we could possibly do a qualifier and just see. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt to see.
No, I mean exactly. You have to do it sooner or later. I mean, obviously you'd love to come in first, second, or third, but again, you got to
Yep,
get at least the first pro show under your
out of
belt.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the Tampa for sure.
Yep.
And then Vancouver would be the one where it would be a possible qualifier. But it's going to be very interesting, Olympia, the next over the next couple of years, because we've had two big names retire,
Yeah, I
um,
know.
and particularly Sid Gillen. And Sid Gillen is someone that you can't beat. And
Yeah.
it's just simple as that. As harsh as it sounds, you can't beat her. Her proportions are
I
almost
know.
like it is unbeatable. So I think generally what happens, I find, within these kind of positions is that there tends to be someone else will fit that mold.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, I find that this is where they either go, okay, well, who do we want to see, and what are we looking for now?
Exactly. Will it be a new standard or will it be kind of a clone of Sid?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see where that goes
Yes. Yes.
over
And
the next
it's the
couple of
same thing with men's
years.
classic too. Now with Chris Bumstead retiring, it's a whole new game next year as well.
Yeah, so it is really anybody's game. So it's either I think you just got to take the opportunity. I think there will be a lot of people taking the opportunity.
Yep.
Um, and I think it will be next year will be the most competitive year within figure and even men's physique.
Yeah. Amelia,
That
do you want to win, or do you want to place top 5? Like, what's really the end goal, honestly?
honestly, even just standing on the Olympia stage,
Yes. Okay.
I think he's such. It would be such an amazing feat just to stand there, just to be able to qualify for the Olympia. I think is just something that is just such a small percentage of the world are able to do.
Well, that's it. All the social media negativity, people, oh, well, you
Mhm,
placed 12th in the biggest show. Well, yes, you're 12th in the world in that biggest show. You are the best of the best. You didn't get first, but yes, you're still in the top 10, 12, 15 of the world. So,
mhm. Yeah, like I think it's quite it's just an amazing feat to even just get there.
yeah.
But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to win.
Okay, I love it because some people are very humble that I bring on. They say, "I just
Nah,
want top 5,"
nah.
but I love
I
it.
I I go into everything. I went into this prep previously, and I remember making the post, and I posted up, and I said prep begins tomorrow. I'm not here. There's an Aussie saying that we say we're not here to f spiders,
Okay.
which just means we're not here to stuff around.
Yep.
And it's I want to get in there. I want to be the best of the best on stage.
Yep. Okay.
And anytime I had any self doubt, it was like, no,
Yeah.
I need to get this. So it's yeah, I'm humble in the sense that I understand and I know I'm not the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not there's no disproportionate confidence I don't think there, but I think there's more so like I'm not afraid to say that I want to win.
Yeah.
I I think we throw too much money. We throw too much time. We throw too
Exactly.
much we throw too much into this trying to fit a mold or fit the criteria as best as we possibly can
Mm-hmm.
and to be told, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
I don't think anybody sort of wants to anybody who takes it seriously as an athlete, it's like if we were playing a game of soccer. Oh no, I'm not playing to win. Are you kidding? I don't want my team to win. I want us to suck.
Yeah.
Like
Good
you
point.
can't. You're an athlete. You want to win. You want to do
Yes.
well. And obviously, yeah, there's sportsmanship attached to that. You've got to have sportsmanship. You've got to cop the losses with grace when it happens, and it will
Mm-hmm.
happen. But you can't be afraid to go after the win.
Exactly. Exactly. Amelia, as we wind down, what advice do you have for people that want to get into competition? Whether it's any of the female divisions, the bikini, your division, bodybuilding, what advice do you have?
Well, I would say it even goes across the male divisions as well. So I think you need to. My biggest thing is that I feel people start a prep without living the lifestyle previously.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that they start this prep and they have this and it's wonderful and they have this end goal and they have this thing to focus on, but they don't have the standard of their lifestyle matching that. So once the prep is over, they tend to just fall back into old ways. And I think even the people that find it really difficult on prep for me isn't that hard. The
Yeah.
food sucks, feeling depleted sucks, and doing cardio sucks, but the day-to-day life hasn't really changed.
Yeah, because it's a lifestyle. It's more of a habit now than anything else.
I think you need to develop that habit and you need to get into the because if you cannot stick to a diet for 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to you can't do a prep. Like
Yeah.
if you cannot stick to a diet of at minimum 4 weeks, you can't do a prep. If you don't have that willpower to stay there in and the thing is sometimes the diet goes quite low
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and there are a lot of yummy foods around you that you got to say no to. And I think that's probably the hardest thing is that you need to have that lifestyle there before you commit to it. Otherwise, your prep's gonna suck. You're gonna fail. You're gonna set yourself up for disaster.
Yeah.
You're gonna do stupid things. So I
Yeah.
think commit to the lifestyle first, I suppose, and see how you go with the lifestyle, and then look at the prep.
Amelia, do you feel it's harder being, I guess, solo in your apartment? You don't have a maid or a roommate or anything, keeping yourself accountable versus someone else saying, Amelia, you don't want to eat that.
No, I love it. I
Okay.
think for me, I'm good at isolating. I did isolate myself quite a lot
Okay.
throughout this prep. To the point where actually the last 3 4 weeks, I sort of said to my mum, I was like, "Look, I love you, but sometimes our conversations stress me out." And I didn't. I like my emotions did get the best of me, especially the last 2 weeks of prep,
Sure.
and I found I became quite snappy as a person, and that's not me. That is the complete opposite of me. Like
Yeah.
I always try to leave people better than I found them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was easier for me to remove myself and isolate myself.
Okay.
But my coach still scares me. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
The soundbite. I'm gonna use the soundbite.
like he scares me. Like so, like being accountable and knowing that I've got my check-ins and knowing that I'm accountable to him because
Yeah.
he's very strict. It makes saying no to things very easy.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Amelia, it's been a great conversation. Is there anything that maybe we haven't touched that you want to let the listeners, the followers, anything that we haven't touched?
um, no, I think we've covered off everything. I think if you're thinking about competing and there are and your starting point is similar to mine, where you have been overweight or underweight,
Yeah.
I think it's proof that you don't actually know what your potential is until you actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
The time's gonna pass, so you
Yeah.
might as well jump into it and see what you can make out of yourself.
Seize the day. I love it.
For sure.
Amelia, feel free to give a shout out your social media, your Instagram, your coach, anybody whatsoever. Give everybody on your camp a shout out as we wind down.
Yeah. So Seville Ford and Amy Fox, they're my posing coaches.
Okay.
The Dubois method. So Rawdon Dubois is my coach. He is the absolute. I would walk through fire for this man, and he does manage people internationally as well. He's got another pro under his belt, Daniela Means.
Okay.
um he's nicknamed the pro maker in Australia, so
Love it.
definitely it definitely happens. And yes, just mine is Amelia Hannan underscore, I think it just comes up. But yeah, I'm really bad at plugging. I'm all new to this.
I know, but okay, so this is the thing I've noticed, and I want to be respectful to all the females that are listening. A lot of the female pros, then you need to be more active on Instagram. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it's a brand now. Because I've had
Yes.
bikini pros that have 500 followers, this and that. I'm not saying millions, but you got to be more active. You guys are great people. People need to know about you.
Yeah, I want to. I think it's also I think something that I need to concentrate on for sure, because I think I am quite marketable,
Mm-hmm.
in the way that I look, but I also think that I need to start getting my name out there because getting to the US
Yeah.
and it's going to require a little bit of help here and there, and I've recently Gentech helped me out,
Oh,
which is
nice.
yeah, they're a supplement brand in Australia. It's owned by an Australian guy. It's actually owned by Mr. Universe in Australia at the moment, and he offered me quite a nice discounted rate as a athlete,
Okay.
and even those little things are just going to help get me to where I need to be
Of course.
financially for the US for sure. Because our dollar rate is a bit crap. I'm not gonna lie. In comparison, I always need to save up double to get to the US.
Oh, jeez.
Nightmare. But I'm gonna do it. It's gonna happen.
Well, perfect. Well, Amelia, it's truly been a pleasure. Hopefully, you come back again, whether it's getting
Yeah.
ready for the next contest, or maybe come on to celebrate your first pro win, whether it's Vancouver Pro, one of the Florida shows. Um, but I really appreciate our time this evening.
Yeah. I've loved every minute of it. Loved it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And everybody listening, make sure you follow this young and up and coming star and follow us at subtalk_radio. Have a great evening.